Hello everyone, Master Kristin here with Mr. Jeremy. And we're going to be doing lots of roundhouse kicks in today's lesson. So before we get started, members who sign up for these videos, Master Doug is offering a free clap pad like this. And the times that you can come and pick one up are available on Facebook. So before we start our lesson, I'm going to go over how to hold the clap pad for each of the kicks so that you can practice with your child. So only parents holding the clap pads, not kids, because we don't want any accidents to happen. So only parents holding, and this practice is especially for little jagged mighty mites. It's not so much for power, it's more for their focus, their self-control, so finding their distance, learning how to do long kicks, not squishy kicks, so all those sorts of things. So go over first, in case you have the clap pad for the previous lessons for the front kicks and jump front kicks, and we'll go over how to hold for the front kicks first. So Mr. Jeremy here, make sure when you're holding the target, you can put the handle around your wrist if you'd like to, just to make sure it doesn't go flying into lamps or anything. Holding on to the handle, and as far away from your body and from your hand as possible. When you're checking the distance, it's mostly up to the student to find the distance, but when they're younger, we try to help them out a little bit, not standing too close, because now Mr. Jeremy's front kick is he's either going to kick my hand or he's going to do this little squishy, not so great kick. So checking our distance, making sure when he does his kick, he can kick, do a long kick, extend his leg out all the way. For the little kids, when we start out, like white belts, we can start holding a little bit below the belt, but our goal is to get at least belt height. If your child has good coordination, good focus, not going to kick your hand or fall over, good balance, you can challenge them, hold it a little bit higher. So we'll start out belt height. Fighting stance, 8 and 1. Front foot. 2, we'll try a little bit higher. Okay. Make sure after every kick that your child goes back in a fighting stance, they regain their balance. Good for practicing focus, and also to make sure that they're not practicing sloppy kicks. So Mr. Jeremy's back in a good fighting stance. Hold the pad out again. Good, back to fighting stance. And you can try a little bit higher this time. Good. So same for jump front kick. Holding it flat out. When we do jump front kick, we can start low again, back me up, jump and switch. Good, make sure they're in a good fighting stance. You can challenge them, maybe jump a little bit higher this time, back me up, jump switch. Good, and again, I'm making sure I'm not holding it too close so he can extend his leg out all the way. Back in a good fighting stance in between, and one more time, jump and switch. Good. And again, Mr. Jeremy is kicking very hard, but not so much focusing on power, more focusing on the distance and whether or not they're hitting the target. Okay, now since today's lesson is about roundhouse kicks, how to hold for a roundhouse kick. So same thing, we can put our hand through the loop, hold the target away from our body. Sometimes hold like this, so that there's less chance of your hand getting hit. Hold with the bottom of the target down, with the part that's going to be kicked down. So roundhouse kick again, I want to make sure not too close, not too far away, so that it's not getting frustrated because he can't kick it. Going to start again a little bit below the belt. Roundhouse kick, open the door. I'm holding at a slight angle. So whatever foot Mr. Jeremy's kicking with, I'm tilting it, the top of the target, a little bit toward his foot. You can also hold it straight up and down. It's up to you, as long as it's not tilted toward where his foot's going to hit the hard part of the target. So, holding it straight up and down, open the door, knees sideways, and that's good. And I make sure that he gets back in his good fighting stance. And he can tell him to switch his feet. Sometimes the Mighty Mites and Little Dragons, they practice stepping forward, or they put their foot all the way in back. So make sure you know which foot your child has back first. That's why maybe holding it straight up and down is easiest, so you don't have to keep switching back and forth. So we always make sure, the most important part of the roundhouse kick, we always make sure that your child's pivoting their foot, call it opening the door first, so that they don't hurt their ankle, so they're turning their hips, they get a nice sideways kick. Mr. Jeremy, switch your feet. And demonstrate on his foot. So you're gonna they always open the door first, and you can even tell them if they're having trouble kicking sideways. Sometimes they'll open the door, but when they go to kick, that foot snaps back and they end up doing like a sloppy front kick. And so you can tell them also, open the door, say turn your shoulders sideways, then knee sideways and kick. So we make sure it's a roundhouse kick, not a sloppy front kick. So Mr. Jeremy, one more time. Open the door, turn your shoulders, knees sideways, roundhouse kick. Good. And again, if that's easy for your child, they're landing in a good fighting stance every time, you can challenge them, hold it higher. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us or comment below, and we'll get back to you with answers to your questions. And let's move on to the lesson plan.
Okay.